Hello, thank you for tuning in to another edition of Soul Stretch, the online edition. This class is going to be a little more active than the last two. So find yourself a comfortable seat. You can use a pillow, a towel, blanket that's rolled up under your sits bones to elevate your hips so that your spine can be nice and straight. And begin to settle into your seat. So once you find your seat on your mat, begin to settle in a little more by deepening your breath. Slow inhalations, followed by slow exhalations. And as you begin to deepen your breath, begin to pay attention to parts of your body that feel a little stiff or tight. Parts of your body that you may want to send a little more love to throughout this practice today. And remember, no matter what, this is your practice. You do what's best for your body. Honoring limitations, honoring victories, because each practice is different, no matter your skill level. And if you'd like to, I'd like to invite you to set an intention for this class today. Whether it's to find a little more peace, relaxation, rest, or is it to move your body? And when you're ready, let's start to make some circles with our nose, winding up the neck, releasing any tension from the neck and shoulders, allowing your breath to move you. Going one direction, and when you feel complete in one direction, changing and then going the opposite. One more round. And come back to the center. And then inhale, bringing your arms up overhead, gathering them at the palms, releasing the left to the floor, and then reaching over with your right, creating a nice side bend. Exhale when you get there. And then we're going to come back to the center, gathering the hands together at the palms again, releasing the right, exhale, reaching over to the right with the left. Coming back to center. Take a cleansing breath, releasing the left, reaching over with the right. We're going to do this a few more times. Follow your own rhythm with your own breath. Inhaling at the center, exhaling into your stretch. One more time, over to the right. And then coming back to center. Take a few cleansing breaths here. And then we're going to move in onto our knees into our cat-cow flow. Move whatever props out of the way, but if you do have pain in your knees, you have sensitive knees, you can always put a towel or a blanket down just to create a little bit more support and padding for the knees, because we are going to be here for a moment. So coming into our tabletop position, hands are going to be shoulder width apart, knees are going to be hip width apart, spine is neutral. Take a couple cleansing breaths here. And on your next inhale, we're going to drop the belly. Into our cow. And on our next inhalation, we're going to push up through the palms of our hands, arching or rounding the spine. Dropping the head. Inhaling again into cow. Exhaling again into cat. Once again, continue to follow your own flow, using your breath to guide you. And from here, we're going to bring our toes together, big toes together, keeping our knees hip width apart, and sit back on your heels to come into extended child's pose. Exhaling when your forehead touches the mat. And on your next inhalation, we're going to come back up to tabletop, but this time we're elevating the knees, then pushing back into our downward dog. Exhale when you get there. So this is the first downward dog of the day. You can bring the heels up off of the ground. Bend the knees a lot here. And just make sure that you're dropping the head. You're not straining it by trying to look up. So you want a nice straight line from the top of your head to your tailbone. From here, we're moving back into tabletop and then back into child's pose. Exhale. Taking a couple breaths here. On your next inhalation, coming back up into tabletop, elevating the knees, pushing back into downward dog. You can pedal it out here, creating a nice side stretch. Coming back into your tabletop position, bringing the toes together, and coming into your extended child's pose. From here, we're coming to tabletop. We're going to stay here for a minute. So tabletop, once again, hands are shoulder width apart, knees are hip width apart, spine is neutral, but you want to engage the core because from here, we are going to lift the left leg. Make sure you are engaging the core to keep your balance. And if you feel steady here, you can go ahead and bring the right arm out in front of you to create a dynamic stretch between the tip of your finger to the heel of your foot. Continue to breathe here. Exhale, we're coming back into our tabletop position. You could take a couple cleansing breaths here. And on your next inhalation, we're going to bring the right leg out, engaging the core, still continuing to breathe. And if you feel steady here, go ahead and raise the left arm out in front of you. Continue to breathe. And coming back into tabletop. So we're going to do each side once more, following your own breath. And once again, finding what works for you. On your next inhalation, bringing the left leg up, steadying yourself here, engaging the core, and then bringing the right arm up to join it. continue to breathe. Exhale, bring it down into tabletop. Moving on to the other side. Inhale, bringing that right leg up. Steadying yourself, then bringing the left to join it. Exhale, coming back into tabletop. From here, we're going to plant the hands, and just like we did in our downward dog flow before, we're going to elevate the knees and push back into downward dog. Breathe here for a couple breaths. And slowly begin to walk to the top of your mat. But we're going to stay folded here, allowing the head to hang, allowing the arms to dangle. And on your next inhalation, we're going to plant the feet and rise up into standing. In your Tadasana, in your mountain pose, we're going to bring the arms up overhead and bend once more into our forward fold. But from here, we're going to flatten the back, come to a halfway lift, and exhale, fold once more. From here, we're going to plant the hands and step back with the right foot, dropping it to the ground. So both knees are bent here. We're going to rise up into our lunge and bring the arms up overhead and do a slight backward bend. Coming back to our lunge, we're going to bring the left foot back to join the right in our modified plank. From here, we're going to go down into our chaturanga and up into cobra. Exhale. Push back into our tabletop, elevate the knees, push back into downward dog. And once again, slowly begin to walk yourself to the top of your mat, but stay folded here. Inhale, rise up into mountain Tadasana, gathering the hands at the heart, bend once more. You're in your forward fold. Come to halfway lift. Exhale, folding once more. This time we are going to step back with our left. Drop that knee. Rise up into our lunge. And bring the arms up overhead. and come into our slight back bend. Coming back, planting the hands, moving that foot out of the way so that it can come back and join the left. We're moving into our modified plank. So you can move those knees back a little bit more so that you're engaging the core. So breathe here, keeping the elbows close to the side body, down into your chaturanga, lifting up into cobra. Exhale. And this time we are coming into an extended child's pose. So bringing those toes together once more and bringing the arms out in front of you, releasing the forehead to the mat. We are going to walk the hands back. You can come into kneeling, into your hero's pose, and just take a couple cleansing breaths. From here, you're going to come into a seated position, legs out in front of you, into staff pose. And from here, just like we've done in other videos, staff pose, you're going to be sitting up nice and tall, so core is engaged, legs are out in front of you, and feet are flexed. Breathe here for a moment. And bring the arms up overhead. And then hinging from the hips, you're going to reach for your feet. Now, if you aren't able to reach your feet, you can be here on your shins or your knees or your thighs, wherever it feels good for you. But make sure that you are hinging from the hips when you're doing this and you're not just completely rounding the back. Allow the head to just hang. And from here, we're going to slowly rise back up into our staff pose. Let's move onto our backs. So lying back, you're going to keep the knees bent here. So soles of your feet are flat on the ground, on your mat. And you're going to try to bring your feet as close to your body as you can. And so you want to release your arms and see if you can touch the heels with the tip of your fingers. And if you can, we are going to flatten the back, so making sure that the tailbone is flat on the mat. We're going to rise up, using our shoulders to help us elevate a little more into our bridge pose. We're going to hold this for just a minute, so continue to breathe here. And slowly release. We're going to do this a couple more times, so follow your own breath. So on your inhalation, bringing the hips up to the sky. Continuing to breathe. And slowly release. So one more time. You could take a couple cleansing breaths before you move on. Inhale, elevate the hips. Again, using your shoulders to help elevate the body even further. Continuing to breathe. And exhale, release. And from here, keeping the knees bent, we're going to bring the soles of the feet together and allow the legs, the knees, to open and create a nice stretch in our hip flexors. This is reclined butterfly pose. Like I said in the last video, you can use a cushion, a block, bolster, anything to help support your legs, because gravity is doing its job here, so there's not a whole lot of support if you have tight hips. So if this feels a little too intense, you can grab or you can use your props to help support your outer thigh. Continue to breathe here. Taking a couple more breaths. And from here, we are going to move into our Shavasana. So you can bring the legs out in front of you, just lying flat on your mat. You can grab whatever props you have to help support you in your corpse pose. I like to use a blanket or a pillow underneath my neck just to help support. to create a little support between that gap. And once you've gotten your props and you feel settled in, allow the body to just be, allowing the earth to just support you. Begin to deepen your breath and allow the body to relax. Begin to bring movement back to your body by wiggling your fingers and your toes. You can flutter your eyes. And when you are ready, you can bend the knees and roll to one side into fetal position. And rest there for a moment. And on your next inhalation, you can come back up to seated position. Before we move on with our day, I just want to take a moment to honor you for showing up for yourself and for your body and for your spirit. It's not easy to make the time, but you did it and you're here. And I just want to take a moment to acknowledge that. And I hope that you take time to acknowledge that, because this is all self-care. This is all something that we can do for ourselves, even if it's just 5 minutes a day. But it's taking a moment, using discipline to move your body, to engage with your mind and your spirit. And you did that today. So I want to thank you, and hopefully we can see each other soon, physically. And so, thank you. for practicing with me today. Be well.